Ciao everyone! Today I'm gonna take you to the most incredible museum of technology that you haven't heard about yet. Today we're going to the Enter Museum in the north of Switzerland near the city of Solothurn. This museum is incredible. It has an insanely large collection of any kind of modern technology, from radios, TVs, computers, but it also has an insane collection of cars. Most of them are also cars that come from famous movies.
Well, it's a DeLorean, right?
One of the interesting things about this museum is that the founder collected since his early youth an incredible amount of specimens of everything. The radio section has very, very old and very crazy forms of radios, including some of the novelty radios from the 70s or some very, very early 1920s radios. One of the interesting features of this museum is that there is one floor almost entirely dedicated to reconstructions. There are different rooms that present exactly how different places used to look originally. For example, there is a reproduction of the first radio station ever created in Switzerland in the 20s. Or there is the reproduction on one of the earliest TV studios. And there is also the reproduction of a 1970s living room with the Atari game console and a bunch of other things that you would find in a 1970s living room. There's an interesting section about computers, which includes basically most of the computers from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, including some very rare pieces. For example, there is a very good selection of computers that were actually designed and made in Switzerland, which is actually something that you will not be able to find very easily anywhere else. And some of the pieces are actually quite rare, and a lot of the objects that you see in the museum will be working. There is a special section just dedicated to Apple, and there is a complete selection of almost every product that Apple made since the Apple I in the mid-70s all the way to the most recent Macs and iPhones and those kind of technologies. It's quite remarkable how most of the objects, if not all of the objects that you see in this museum, are actually functioning, because there is a building next to the museum called the Electronic Workshop, which is quite incredible. They have all the tools and all the spare parts in order to repair almost any electronic device. Also, since we are in Switzerland and the Swiss are famous for their high-end graphics design and typography, there is an entire section dedicated to the different technologies of typography. So they have the classic metal characters, LED characters, and the manual typesetting machine. They also have example of the different innovation in typesetting, including some very rare 1960s, 70s electronic typesetting equipment. And the museum also runs workshops, so you can actually, at their specific times, you can actually go and experience how the classic printing technology used to work. Inside the museum, there's also a restaurant, so if you want, you can also eat there. And on front of the museum, there is one incredible object. It is the largest video projector ever made. This basically looks like a massive rocket. It sits on this specially designed trailer, and it was used during the Winter Olympics in the 50s to project the name of the Olympics on the mountain. And this is the invention of a local Swiss engineer. The museum was able to acquire, fix it up, and preserve it as much as possible, and you can admire it in front of the museum. So one of the things that I want to say to conclude this visit is that if you're interested in any form of modern technology, from electronics to cars to computers, it is amazing to visit this place because their collection is massive. They also have some pieces that you don't see anywhere else, and they put a lot of love and passion in what they do. So they really spend a lot of energy in helping preserve technology so that we can see how our grandparents used to watch TV or our grandparents used to, listen to the radio. So if you are in Switzerland and you want to spend a day in a place that's super exciting, I totally recommend visiting the Enter Museum in Solothurn.